So you are thinking about graduate school part 2. Hopefully you have watched part 1 and you're ready to dive in a little deeper about graduate school. When you're thinking about graduate programs and which ones to choose, you're going to have to look at a variety of pieces of information. We suggest making a list of potential schools and compare them. This could be in a chart, formally, or just notes that you take or research you do online, whatever works best for you. One thing you want to look at is the quality of programs, the variety of courses that exist, how long has the program been around, what do the facilities look like, especially if it's going to be a heavily research-based program or perhaps something in the medical field. It's important that they have good training facilities. Take a look at the opportunities for research and scholarly events to engage with. Look at the reputation of the school, its programs, and the faculty. Look at the placement rates where graduates go, where they go, how long it takes for them to complete the degrees, as well as find something within their field. Take a look at financial assistance and availability of those particular opportunities. Student services are important for the success often of graduate students, so we want to make sure that those are all comprehensive for all graduate students engaged in their programs. And perhaps the location of the cost of living. So sometimes graduate programs are in big cities, sometimes they're in smaller schools and out in the country, so take a look at that as well. That could have an effect on your ability to head to a program. The admissions process for graduate school involves quite a few things. There will be an admissions committee that is made up of faculty, administrators, and they typically base decisions for their programs on things like your personal statement or statement of purpose, letters of recommendation, standardized test scores, your grade point average for all of your coursework, your transcripts, previous work experience that you've had, previous research experience, curricular activities that you've been in, off-campus engagement within the community. They'll take a look at your resume overall to get a clear picture of you as a whole. Funding for graduate school comes in many forms. Certainly, grants are free money and typically the best type of aid to get. You don't have to pay those back or work for them. Fellowships are the most common type of grants, and they are much more common for PhD students than masters. Graduate assistantships are the most common type of funding overall. You would receive a stipend, and then your tuition is typically waived. Other benefits could be included as well. Some assistantships will include doing some research, teaching some classes, or additional administrative or professional positions. Loans are also available to graduate students. The federal government and other financial institutions are who will typically lend you those funds. You want to complete a free application for federal student aid. If you're familiar with the FAFSA from undergrad, it is typically the same thing. However, the amount of money that you're eligible for is typically a higher amount when you get to graduate school. But there is a cap on aid overall for all of undergrad and all of graduate school. Some other funding sources to look at, perhaps the department or college that you're applying to specifically, they might have some of their own scholarships to take a look at. Talk with the graduate school or the Office of Graduate Studies at those institutions too to see if there are opportunities available. Some other organizations, government agencies, foundations, professional organizations often sponsor scholarships. For all these different things, eligibility requirements and the application process could vary, so definitely keep that all straight. And the majority of funding is available for the fall semester, even if certain programs do accept students for fall, spring, and summer. It is definitely a possibility that they award all of their funds in the fall and don't have additional ones for later in the year. When we're looking at recommendation letters, a lot of students have questions about those. Who should you ask? This one would typically be faculty, faculty advisors, close academic advisors, employers, anybody that could give a clear picture of how you would do in graduate school. Make the request courteously and definitely obtain the approval before you put the information on a reference list. Provide the person writing the letter with a copy of your statement of purpose and your resume. That will give your recommenders a full picture of everything that you've been involved with. Perhaps they know you as a student, but not your other engagement in the community and on campus. Allow ample time for your recommenders to complete those letters. Keep them updated on your timeline, and certainly let them know when you get accepted. I always think a nice thank you letter too after the fact is always appreciated. If you have to write a personal statement for graduate school, we don't want you to get too nervous. These are just opportunities for the colleges to learn more about you and your specific background and your goals. When you're writing it, some tips include getting the attention of your reader. Sometimes people call that the hook at the beginning, so we want to engage them right off the bat and get them excited to read on. Explain your motivations for applying. Highlight what makes you stand out from others, anything that is unique to you. Feel free to watch out for the balance of breadth and depth. We don't necessarily have to mention a whole bunch of examples for everything. Pick a few and go more in depth. Maintain a positive and confident tone. Address any specific questions that are outlined in the application. You can also think about if there's any concerns that they might have about your overall application, and then think how you might be able to alleviate those concerns within the personal statement. Do write creatively, but clearly, concisely, and honestly. Required exams are often part of the process. The GRE, the graduate record exam, is often required for graduate programs. Some information here on the screen about the GRE. You may want to take it multiple times, so definitely give yourself a good 12 to 18 months before you intend to start graduate school, so that if you want to retake it, you have enough time. There are lots of study guides online and organizations that can help you prepare for these, for the GRE, as well as some of these other tests. The GMAT, the MCAT, the LSAT, and many other ones will exist for other professional and graduate programs. So go ahead and make sure that you research the appropriate exam that's required for your program. Some additional tips. There is a graduate school timeline. There's a link to one here. Definitely the earlier you get started, the better, but it doesn't have to be right at the beginning of your college career. We definitely want you to explore a bit so you feel comfortable that you're in the right area first before we even think about graduate school. Work on crafting your resume and CV. Have it reviewed by us in career development and your faculty contacts to make sure it is the best possible representation of you and your experience. Prepare and practice interviewing if that's going to be part of your application process. We do also offer mock interviews, so please feel free to make those mock interview appointments to practice. Here's the link for Handshake on the screen, so you can make an appointment to talk about graduate school, the timeline, helping to compare programs, whatever it might be. We are certainly here looking to help you in your process.